Good morning, everybody. So today, I thought I would show you guys the rest of the process I'm doing with my tree. So I have let it sit on the counter for the past week and I haven't touched it. Usually when I have a vision for something, it takes me a few days to kind of work it out into something tangible. So what I'm going to do, see this, I molded it specifically for this block of wood. So what I'm going to do is sand this wood down to get all of the, stuff off of it, the paint and the clay. And then originally I had made this hobbit door for it and I covered it with resin. Well, I didn't end up liking, the size comparison to the tree, I didn't like. It was a little bit too small and the tree kind of overwhelmed the whole thing. So I made a door that was just a tad bit bigger, as you can see. I have not painted it yet, obviously, but that is going to be the new hobbit door because I think the size is a good match for this. So let me get all of my things together and let me get set up and then we'll start. Okay, so I am using just some regular sandpaper here. And what I'm going to do is, like I said, sand this down. So let me begin. I like to sand things down over top of the trash can. So let me grab the trash can and we will sand this down. I'm going to finish this up and then I'll come back. Okay, now that I have sanded it down and wiped it off, it looks a lot better. So I'm going to figure out how I want this positioned on here because I do want to possibly carve a little pathway into the wood. I think that would look cute. So I've just got to position it how I want it. Okay, I think that's good right there. And then of course the little door will go here. So I'm going to take some E6000 glue. This is like all-purpose industrial strength glue. This stuff, you have to work fast when you use it though because it will continue to come out of the tip. That's what she said. If you just leave it, if you don't close it like immediately after you're done using it. Usually what I do at that point is like if there's any sticking out, I'll just wipe it on my table and then close it. That's the beauty of a craft table that is just otherwise would be trash. Okay, so now I am going to get my paints and I'm going to paint this and we'll wait for that to dry and then we will move on to the next step. All right, so I got my little paints set out here and what I like to do is mix a dark brown and a dark green to make like a really dark color. Sometimes I'll throw a little of that burnt sienna in just to add a little bit of warmth. Don't want too much of any color, like the three colors. You don't want too much of any of the individual ones to pop through. I like to mix it until it's super dark. And then I go in from there. It's good to use a patting motion on this so you can get down into all of the little grooves that I painted. And then, of course, it absorbs, because this is just clay, and it absorbs the paint super quick. And this is just the first layer. This is like the shadow layer. You start with your darkest colors first and then build like the highlights and the depth that you want. Which is a concept in art that I just recently began to really understand. That's like a lot of the times what makes art look so like good and like somebody who knows what they're doing did it. Is like the understanding of like the color and shadows and highlights and things like that. Like I'm completely self-taught in all art that I know. I've never once taken one single class, but through watching other artists, and, you know, researching different terms that I hear and different art principles and things like that, you begin to, like, I started to build an understanding of what I was doing and, like, how I wanted it to be seen in, like, my own style, my own art style. And I started to be able to convey that easier. Because for the longest time, because, like, I don't know, I heard someone say this before where it's like, you can have the greatest ideas in the world, but if you don't have a medium in which to express it, then they kind of go unnoticed. So like, you know, for the longest time I wanted to be able to draw because I had like these visuals in my head that I wanted to express. But I was not taught an art, and I was scared for the longest time, like how my art would be perceived, and I don't know, it's like that, almost like that imposter syndrome feeling where it's like, oh, you know, other people do this, and I shouldn't be doing this. Like I really don't know what I'm doing. Once I got over that whole fear of that, of like how I would be perceived, and how, you know, for the longest time I didn't even tell anybody I was an artist. I wouldn't say that I was an artist. I would just like say, oh yeah, I do art. But I was always afraid that somebody would come and say, oh, that you're not an artist. Like that's not a title that you should be using. And it's like that whole thing of like, if you don't claim your life and who you are, and tell people who you are, and tell people your story, people are going to make shit up about you, and they're going to tell your story for you. So, I mean, it's a good idea. It's a good thing to remember is, like, you don't ever be afraid to claim a title, you know, anything like that. Just don't be afraid to claim those things and stand up and take possession of who you are as a person. And you do that by telling people who you are and telling people how you expect to be treated and not settling for anything less. So I am going to let this dry and let the super glue dry over here. And then once it's all dried up, you know, of course, I'm going to do like a couple more coats of paint, and then we'll get going to the next step. Oh, and I just wanted to come in here and interject that I have not picked a winner for the giveaway of the craft supplies yet, because to be honest, I haven't went through my stuff yet. I just kind of cleaned up. But I will update you guys, and once I go through my things and form a little box of things to gift one of you guys, I will let you know. But until then, I'm just going to keep that giveaway up and open so you can continue to enter if you want or whatever. But yeah, Okay, you guys, as you can see by the daylight, it is much later in the day. My tree has dried. The little door has dried. So what I want to do with this door, to put like a door handle on it, is get my Dremel tool, and we are going to drill a hole into it so we can put an old I can use an old earring for my door handle. I will show you one example that I did. So this is that one door that I made. You can see that's an old earring that I used for the doorknob. I just drilled a little hole into it and stuck that earring down in there with some glue, and it worked perfectly. So I've got this case right here full of old earrings that I no longer wear, so I just have to find one that is that one's pretty nice. It's like a little ruby colored one. Jexie? So let me get my Dremel set up and then I will be back. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys this Dremel tool. So to change the lock here, or the mechanism, you press the lock button and you unscrew this part right here and you take that out. And then I have this little set of drill bits. I mean, they're so small. You see how tiny they are? So you want to stick the drill bit down in here, but I'm going to use the smallest drill bit, which is literally like the size of a needle. It is so tiny. So look at that. I mean, it's so thin. Amazing. Amazing. But you have to keep that lock button pressed while you twist this. Otherwise, it will not move. And you want to make sure it's in there properly and not falling down into the side parts. Because this drill bit is so small that it can slip down into the side parts of the locking mechanism, and we don't want that. Oh, so teeny tiny. It's actually quite a challenge to get that little thing down in there. So now that that's in there, let me plug this in. And this has a light on the end, so you can see. And let me angle you guys down a little more so you can see what I'm doing down here. So I don't want to go all the way through the door. And usually I always get kind of mixed up on the placement of the doorknob, because I've seen both where the doorknob is in the center and off to the side. So I'm just going to do it in the center but off to one side just a little bit. We'll go right here. And then you just turn it on. Well, first I want to turn on and make sure it's spinning properly. Oh, you see here? Okay. Not to worry. I'm going to cover that up with you'll see. But see, things like that happen with crafting, and not to worry. So I take that earring and I trim some of this down because it is just way too long. Trim most of it off. Take my E6000, just kind of stick this down into the glue, and then down into the hole it goes. And there you go. So now I've got a little sparkly gem doorknob. Very cute, very cute. Love it. And then with this rest of this glue, I sanded the bottom of this so it was flat. So I'm going to put some glue on the bottom. And with that, I'm going to glue it to the platform. Just like so. And then take a little bit, I've got this super moss. It's got a bunch of different types in it. I'm going to take some of this purple colored, like lichen type moss, and stick it down where that little line of glue is. So, because this super glue will show up if I leave it like that. I mean, you'll be able to see it, and I don't want you to be able to see it. So I'll go back in once that's all dry and pick out the excess moss, but for right now, that is perfectly fine. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I will come back. Well, actually, since it's, I'm just going to put some moss onto the tree. This is how I envisioned actually using this and decorating it. So I'm just going to put some super glue along the tree. And then I'm going to use my finger and just kind of spread it around, because I don't want the, I want the moss to be able to stick like it would naturally on a tree. And it does not stick in just one line. So I'm going to take some of this bright green moss and the purple and just kind of place it on there. Uh-oh, my door fell over. bit of moss in the little window of the door, and over here on the side where I used I'm gonna push it up onto this tree really good. Can't beat this type of moss. It just looks so whimsical. Oh, is that a spider living on my... No, okay. That was close. I thought that was a spider. So I'm just going to continue to put moss on here and glue it down. And then I'm going to put some down here on the little parts of the tree that are sticking out. Up here on top of the door. It's like moss would naturally form up there. Little bits down here on the roots of the trunk. Or the tree trunk, not the roots. Well, I guess yeah, the roots. Just placing it where I think it would naturally kind of sit. So I'm going to let this dry. I'll probably add to a few more spots, and then we will do some embellishments with different types of pieces that I have that I can make this just look a little bit more magical. So I'm going to finish this up and I will come back when I'm finished. Okay, you guys, I have got, for the most part, I've got it the way I want it. I will let it dry overnight and come back and show you guys the last little bit. Good morning, everybody. So, this is what I've been working on this morning. The only thing that I changed is I painted the wood block brown, and I had these little cedar twigs that were just the right shape, that were curved at just the right angle to where I could make a door frame out of them. I just used my garden snips to cut the wood to size, and I sanded down the edges to make sure that they were, you know, at a level spot to where they will be easy to glue together. And that was it. Now I'm just letting that dry, and then I'm going to add a few more things. I'll probably film that, and then I will show you guys the finished product when we are finished. I'm thinking about adding some type of like little swing. I want to make a miniature swing. I think that would be so freaking cute. So like if I can get some of this wood, you know, I've got this Dremel to where I can drill like needle size holes into stuff. You guys can see here that I put a little doorknob, old earring, used the old earring for the doorknob. And then I put another coat of paint on this. This one's kind of just looks a little drab, but I'm slowly finding uses for all of them. I think that hobbit door down in there looks so cute, especially with the little earring doorknob and the little cedar door frame. So I'm going to keep adding to it and I will show you guys the progress.